Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday. I am your host, Mr. Kadish. Get it right. And unfortunately, the king of the pineapple pizza, Lord of the Shelves, Odin from OMB Reviews, is feeling a little under the weather today, so he won't be joining us. But you know who will be joining us? Mr. Dutch Butters from Salty Nerd Gaming. How you doing, Dutch?
Hi, how are you? I'm here. I'm not awake yet. I have no caffeine, and well, here we are. Let's do this. Let's talk about things that nobody gives a shit about.
Nobody cares about. Yep.
Nobody cares, and yeah, let's go.
All right, and he's here. He's queer. He's our shield against all things intersectional. Brian from the Podcast Brothers. How you doing, Brian?
Cue the applause. What's up, man? How you doing? I've had plenty of caffeine for the both of us, but I did also just get up from a nap. So I drank a bunch of caffeine and then fell back asleep in my chair.
Oh, that's weird.
And then I heard my phone going off, and it was Butters, and he's like, "Hey, Katie just wanted me to text you." I'm like, "Oh, cool, man. I'll be right there." Thank God you texted me, dude. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, just so everyone knows, all the proceeds from today's live stream goes towards Brian's therapy fund to try to get him to see a therapist.
Don't do it. Don't do.
Yes, his wife gave him a mini therapist. There we go. And welcoming him back to the show is Mr. Philip Chan from Project Eggroll. How you doing, Phil?
Good, yeah. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited. There's a bunch of stuff we're going to be talking about. Holy crap! It's been a while since it's been back on, but man, I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, and Tom Connors Jr. is apparently too busy eating cereal to join us on time, as he normally does. But you know what? He'll show up when he's done eating. So hopefully that won't take too long. Guys, our leaderboard is still unchanged. We still have Made You Say Butts as our number one donator, super chatter, for $300, followed closely by Scotty Dub for $200. And I think Made You Say Butts has almost outspent Scotty Dub in terms of our top contributors. So if he donates any money on this stream, we might have to switch those things up. But Mexican Iron Man is still our most consistent super chatter. And of course, our top gifters are Jillian H., Major Chai Chai, and Eric Winberg, which we'll be getting to in a little bit. But I just want to give everyone a heads up. By decree of Mr. Butters here, we are trying to get 15 new memberships during the course of this live stream. So if you guys want to do gifted memberships or just want to sign up to have like your own membership for the Salty Nerd Podcast, feel free to do so. We want to try to get 15 of those in this in today's live stream. And guys, I don't know if you heard about this, but the Salty Nerd Podcast channel has hit 20,000 subscribers.
Let's go!
Yay!
Finally.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been like, what is it, Dutch? 4 years? 5 years? Something like that?
2020. So 5 years, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it only took 5 years to hit 20,000 subs. Of course, we appreciate everyone who's subscribed and who shared out our content and stuff like that. Still got a long way to go. Let's hit that 30,000 within the year, hopefully. We'll see about that. But if you want to be part of our Salty Nerd community, be a Salty Justice Warrior, go to saltynerddiscord.com and join our Discord community. Butters, you want to tell everyone about what an awesome community we have over there?
Oh, on the Discord, saltynerddiscord.com. It's great. It's growing a lot right now. Truthfully, the gaming channel, Salty Nerd Gaming, has kind of taken it over there. So, but we do have a active section. We talk about plenty of the nerd stuff. It's actually a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to talking about movie reviews and stuff and television reviews again here really soon with some of our regulars. But the saltynerddiscord.com, I think we're at like between 12 and 1,300 members now, and it's very active, and it's a really fun community over there. It's a lot of super cool. So, and when you join, if you're new over there, it'll ask you, are you here for gaming? Are you here for nerd stuff? And it'll send you to the correct spot, give you the correct roles and all that kind of thing. So it's good times over there. Good times. So,
yep. It's a very active Discord, which is always fun. And guys, I don't know if you know this or not, but Brian and his brother Shane do a show after our show on Saturdays, 12:30 Pacific time, 3:30 Eastern time. It's called The Brain Show. And no, that's not misspelled. It is actually a a homogenation of their two first names. Brian,
It's a combo word.
yes, exactly. A portmanteau, I think, is what it's called. But Brian, you want to tell everyone what you guys are talking about today?
Oh my God, we're talking about the meeting between him and Zelensky.
Trump and Zelensky.
That
Yeah,
was so funny.
Trump and
so funny.
Zelensky. We're talking about the Epstein client list, the Elon Musk interview with Joe Rogan, and how a lot of tech bros are getting penis injections.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
How does that work?
Not for length, for girth.
Yeah, well,
It's
girth
like
is more important.
lip fillers for your
What?
penis.
No length? Come on, man. As an
I know.
Asian guy, like I really need that, dude. It's
My
like,
question is, why do you want to look like a hockey puck? Like they want to be showers and not growers. I think it's hilarious, and so Shane's like, I don't know why we're talking about this. I'm like, you know why we're talking about this.
I think I'm going to tune in just to hear Shane talk about that because he's not going to be happy about it.
Yes.
Talk about penis, Shane. Don't want to hear you do it. Let's see it. Come on, buddy.
The brain show is never more entertaining than when Shane is being tortured. So. You guys know what isn't torture, though, are gifted subs. So we got Major Chai Chai throwing down 5 Salty Nerd podcast memberships. Thank you, Major Chai Chai. Appreciate you. And we got Eric Winberg throwing in his obligatory 1 Salty Nerd gifted podcast membership. Thanks, Eric. Good to see you. And friend of the show, WG, dropped 5 Salty Nerd podcast memberships. So, guys, we're only 4 away from hitting our goal. But not to be outdone, WG also dropped $50
Let's
for the
go.
fridge fund.
Let's do it.
For the fridge fund or therapy, either is acceptable. There you go. Well, Brian, I think we're not going to send you to therapy in favor of stocking our fridge at the studio.
Yeah, just buy me a Red Bull and whiskey. That'll work for me.
You just got to come over and get it.
That's all the therapy I need.
Yeah. And Major Chai Chai for $2. Congratulations on breaking 20K. Thank you, Major Chai Chai. It was a long and arduous road, but
yeah, that was actually really
to do it.
That was actually really kind of awesome because I wasn't even thinking about it. We get this text out of the blue from Matt, and it said 20K finally hit it, and we're like, oh wow, that's pretty awesome.
Well, you know, the
So, yeah.
Salty Nerd podcast and the channel in general has been kind of like a weird place for the past like 6 months, I'd say.
Yeah.
Just because the business has been taken off, the podcasting business, and so like we've been really focused on that, and we haven't had a lot of time to do the actual podcast, and it's been this show. It's been kind of carrying the channel, and so we really appreciate Brian and Tom and Odin when they bothered to show up, still contributing, and all of our wonderful guests. And of course, Dutch Butters left the show for a while, and then like Kathleen Kennedy, he came back somehow and reclaimed his place. Somehow Dutch Butters returned. But
where did he go? I thought it was going to end up being both you guys, and he just like, oh, you're back, I'm out.
No, Alex was going to replace Dutch because we thought that his work schedule was changing. Turned out work schedule didn't change, so Dutch decided to come back. And Alex,
they at the last, like literally like 2 days before my schedule was switching, they said, nope, can't do it. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
All right.
But so I took a sabbatical for a month and let Alex, pay some dues and came back later.
All right.
And then Alex's wife was like, you are not spending your Saturday mornings on a live stream. I require your assistance on Saturdays with our
we have 3 children.
Yes, exactly. Also, we got another super chat from John Yulden for £19.99. Have a great weekend, everyone. Oh, and like and subscribe to this brilliant channel. Thank you so much, John.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it. I was actually on John's show not too long ago talking about the original Highlander movie. But just in case anyone's wondering, we are trying to figure out what type of content we're going to be putting on the Salty Nerd podcast channel going forward. We're still kind of debating over what's going to fit everyone's schedule and what we actually are going to be passionate about doing. But we are passionate about Salty Saturdays, so we're going to continue doing this. And hopefully you guys will continue to enjoy it. So you guys know who we don't enjoy? Rachel Zegler. So apparently, as we get closer and closer to the release of the live-action Snow White remake, Rachel Zegler is trying to do more damage control. And we have this article in Variety here where basically it says Rachel Zegler says live action Snow White backlash is due to passion for the original movie and not her stupid, terrible, evil, antagonistic, quotes about white men and romance and all this other stuff. But she says, we're not always going to agree with everyone. And this is a kind of a weird Variety article because it's based off of a Spanish language interview that Rachel Zegler did, and where they basically translated the interview. And it's very much a puff piece to try to reframe the lack of enthusiasm for the upcoming Snow White movie, as basically people are just so passionate about the original Snow White that they are not excited about a live action remake. And completely leaves out everything that Rachel Zegler has said to piss people off, like talking about how, the fairest of them all doesn't actually mean about looks. It's about progressive, girl bossness and a bunch of other stuff. And also the fact that Prince Charming is basically a stalker, and this isn't about, a woman who doesn't need no man and all this other stuff. But the biggest thing is the fact that she's Puerto Rican, I believe, and she's cast as this white fairy tale princess. And she also kind of talked about, if I'm going to be wearing a princess dress for 12 hours a day, I need to get paid for it during the strikes. So she just has all these bad takes that have really turned people off on her as a personal brand. Like, people aren't fans of Rachel Zegler, right? And Disney is kind of gearing up for taking what it could be considered a big loss on this live action remake because of all the bad press that Rachel Zegler has been fomenting, essentially. The big thing here, though, is that she's trying to reframe all the backlash as being like, oh, people are just so passionate about the original Snow White that they can't handle the changes that we're making. But that's okay because everyone's going to disagree.
Jeez, where'd you get that talking point from? That's insane.
Yeah, Dutch, you want to take this one?
No, not really. I don't have a whole lot to say about this. Look, I'm not the target audience here, and I have no interest in seeing this. And I think I'm like about 99% of the rest of the people in this country who love these movies growing up as a kid. I have, if there was ever a movie that I did not want to see remade besides maybe the original Star Wars movies, this is probably one of them. There's no reason to do this. And Disney just does that thing where we're going to remake and wokeify all of our old classic movies, and there's no reason for it because they're classics and they're good, so it's going to be interesting just kind of kicking back and watching and seeing how this one goes. I don't imagine it's going to make any money. It's going to probably be pretty funny watching them implode and try to explain away how come and why it's such a failure, just like all the rest of their movies that they've been releasing here lately. So more power to them, I guess.
Well, their last two movies seem to do pretty well, if I'm not mistaken correctly, but the live action remakes are kind of hit and miss. I want to welcome Tom Connors, freshly cerealed. How you doing, Tom?
There
I
he
didn't
is.
get my cereal yet.
Tom, you want to tell us what you think about Rachel Zegler's attempts to steal her image for Snow White?
What I think is funny is you're interpreting this as she's explaining why people aren't excited because of the new film or the original film. No, this is what she was told to say after she shat all over the original film.
Yep.
And this is PR spin like you wouldn't believe. This was her being coached, said, this is all you say. You don't say anything else. If you deviate outside these lines, there's going to be hell to pay. We might even sick KK on you. So, yeah, no, I this is all at this point. They know they've got a stinker. They know this Chicky Poo is the one who screwed it up. And, they'll be lucky to walk away at all. This is not going to make money by the end of the day. The only reason it might is because we were all wrong about Mufasa. We underestimate the Diz nerds and kids, but I don't know if this is going to have the appeal they think it's going to have. because none of the other, like outside of a few of the live action remakes, none of them have really been that successful. If you look at it, just Lion King, and Aladdin are the only two that are real big successes. Really, if you step back and look at it, I think those are the only two that broke $1 billion, right?
Maybe. Mr. Philip Chan,
No idea.
why do you think people dislike Rachel Zegler so much? And is there anything she can do to kind of salvage this situation with Snow White?
All right, so of course, this look instant be eye of the beholder. She's ugly, so that's one thing. Like if she was insanely hot and attractive,
Weird.
yeah, 100. Like if she was hot and attractive, people could probably like overlook that. But the thing is that she also has a terrible personality, and that the whole thing about it's not this movie's done 80 years ago. As a person that worked in animation, for saying that it's basically ruining Walt's legacy by saying that like this is not the same story we're getting anymore. And with all these remakes, I just feel like they don't care anymore. Like they haven't been caring for a while now, and it goes to show because there's a bunch of other movies that are coming out there. Just we're gonna reboot this, we're gonna remake this, and it's just why? It's just this movie might get a decent amount of following because of how young she is and her fan base. She does have a decent amount of followers on Instagram, but and plus she has no boobs or ass. That at least that's how I feel.
Man,
coming from an Asian guy, that means a lot.
jeez, you're so like into the physical parts of these things. This is a woman with
I think
brain,
she's sort of
sir.
cute, but
In some ways she is, but like
She's not a big booty Latina.
How
yeah,
dare you.
her personality sucks. But I think she's cute.
I think we should
Insane.
have like a Laverne and Shirley remake with her and Zendaya. I think that would be,
Oh my god.
that would, be
that would
pretty
make $1
good.
billion. Yeah.
It would.
Yeah. Brian, what do you think about this situation? Do you think that Snow White is just irreparably damaged from the fact that they cast this woman that nobody seems to like in the movie?
I don't know, but I do know that specifically Snow White and Brave New World, they're making a lot. They're making a lot of efforts. They're making a lot of moves to try to salvage these two titles. I do believe these movies are sort of the last of their hyper progressive ideology based franchise movies. And what happens is they're losing money. They're trying to make changes. They go through a ton of reshoots for Brave New World. They change the dwarves from the patchouli, Woodstock DEI dwarves to like the 3D versions now.
They were called magical creatures, Brian.
I think they were always going to be like that. I still maintain that, but yeah.
I don't know. I saw the picture. I remember that picture they released, and it was literally looked like a bunch of homeless
people.
Those were stand-ins, though. That's because they weren't the actual elves or the dwarves.
Why'd they have costumes on? I don't.
For photo references.
Okay. Well, either way, I think they're trying to make a lot of changes to those two movies specifically. It didn't work for Brave New World. Brave New World, is going to be a failure when it ends its run here pretty soon. Maybe it makes enough on VOD or something to sort of like justify its existence.
And you're talking about the new Captain Falcon.
Yeah,
movie
the new
from
Captain
Marvel,
Falcon
right?
movie. And we'll see about Snow White. I mean, they've made a lot of changes to that movie. Like we've tracked that a little bit. So who knows? No matter how gnarly and annoying and obnoxious this woman is, I think most normies don't even know how obnoxious she is. It's us people that are closely following it that don't like her. But there's a lot of normies that are going to go watch this movie and not even know the controversy.
I don't think there is going to be a lot of normies that go watch this movie. I think this movie's kind of notorious right now for being a complete screw up. What they really need to do, well, they should have gotten Axel Braun to come in and hired Bonnie Blue Chick to play Snow White. That's what they should have done, and so.
And Lily Phillips.
Well, they would need 100 dwarves, though. Dutch.
Well,
Were for that
whatever.
to happen.
Whatever. Bonnie Blue and the 100 Dwarfs. That's
Guys,
yeah,
it's a live action
that's-
remake
that's-
of their first animated film.
bro. That's
Like,
that's just a walk. That's just a early morning warm up for her. You know, so
no matter how little interest we have in it, like there's a lot of people, especially older people, they're gonna want to take their grandkids and all
For
that.
the
other
people
stuff.
who didn't
look, Brian.
get-
All the people that want to take their grandkids died 40 years ago.
That's
this
not
movie's
true.
Fucking old, dude. It's fucking old.
That's not true.
Hey, Dutch. Brian is the biggest Disney shareholder.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not simping
So he
for
knows-
it. I'm
he
not
knows
simping
what
for it.
he's
I'm saying that there's a shot. There's a shot it does well, even though we have no interest in it.
Look, you're just trying to pump your piece of shit stock.
I'm
bro.
not, bro. Look, I'm telling you. My
Pump and dump, Brian.
my
Pump and
stepmom
dump.
was like, "Hey, did you hear about Snow White? Disney's coming out with a Snow White. We
Yeah.
should take the family." And I'm like, I'm not interested. I'm good. I'm telling you,
I like-
a lot of people don't
I like-
know about this whole controversy.
I like my Bonnie Blue idea way better. I might
Yeah,
go watch
for
that movie.
for those of you out there watching who don't know who Bonnie Blue is, she is the adult film actress who broke the world's record for having sex with 1,000 men in one day.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's what Dutch's joke is based off of.
Well,
Oh,
if
I
they don't
didn't
get
get
it,
that.
if they don't get it, then they're not in touch with reality.
I didn't know who Bonnie Blue was.
They're
See? You see what I'm
they're not
saying?
big on the world record holders. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not paying attention to the
You didn't buy a
world
ticket
record
to go take
gangbang.
part, Brian? Yeah.
Huh?
All I know is it
Like-
was a very awkward date.
True.
Do you guys think there
Short.
would be like a porn parody of this Snow White thing with Bonnie Blue and that's
That would be
1,000
fun.
dwarfs?
I think there's
Why would you
already
make
a
a porn parody?
Snow
Just
White porn
videotape it.
parody. Yeah. I legit think there's already a porn parody of Snow
I'm
White.
sure there is. I'm sure there is.
It's like,
Snow
yeah, it's
White,
probably
there's
like Snow
plenty.
White and the
Yeah.
7 gangbangs or something like that.
Snow White and the Seven Whores. Yeah.
Or
like,
what do they do? Not Snow White XXX. They always do that. Not Star Trek XXX. Like, okay, we get it. Legal
they're not
requirements.
even
It's
trying anymore. They're not even coming up with clever names. They're just calling it not what.
Like, yeah, they're just going not. Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you guys.
Snow White and the 7 black guys. Sorry, I just had to get that.
I've seen that one. Not very entertaining.
Just in general, though, guys, like, do you think there's anything Disney can do to basically salvage this movie at this point?
No, just hope and pray that Lilo and Stitch is a hit,
Yes.
and it probably will because little
Yeah.
girls love Lilo and Stitch. So
Yeah, but
You
it's
guys
not a
know-
remake of a cherished classic from the 19.
technically, it is. Stop and
Tens.
think for a minute. That movie is almost 25 years old.
Yeah, but it's not. I don't know. I just don't look at it as like a movie that's doesn't need a.
It's almost the
Sequel,
same age
you
as
know.
Lion King now was,
I guess that's kind of weird.
in a way,
Kinda weird.
almost. But
Yeah. I don't think Snow White's gonna. I think it's gonna perform probably decently at best, but I think Lilo and Stitch is just gonna. It has more legs, is because they have merchandising. I think it's gonna be huge for
Yeah.
them.
I guess that was about the time that my kids started not being interested in Disney stuff, so I kind of checked out of Disney about that time when Lilo and Stitch came out. So, yeah, I guess that's probably why I don't think of it like that.
Well, you guys know what kids love are super chats, especially member chats. So we got R2D Bot, who gifted 1 Salty Nerd Podcast membership. Thank you, R2D Bot. And JPS has become a member of the channel.
Nice.
So that brings us up to 13 for the stream so far. Just need 2 more to hit Mr. Butter's goal. And of course, we have Fluffy Panda for $2. You're welcome. Hating Brian and defending Goonies equals 20,000 subscribers. Yes, yes, indeed. And of course, we also have the Dork Knight.
Don't say it.
Triumphant Return for $2. He says, "Acknowledge me, LOL."
I only acknowledge him for no less than $50. So that's the only way it's going to happen.
Well, you don't control it, so acknowledge the Dork Knight. There you go, Danny. Good to see you again. And we also have Aaron Charman, who has gifted 1 Salty Nerd Podcast.
Nice.
So we just
Nice.
need 1 more to hit our goal for the day. Thank you guys
Sweet.
so much. Appreciate y'all. You know what else we appreciate? Our real-life true crime mysteries, such as Gene Hackman's suspicious death. Dun, dun, dun.
is it actually
guys-
a crime yet, though? That's what we don't know.
Yeah. So, guys, we don't usually talk about, celebrities passing away on this program, just because it's like, okay, we acknowledge their great career, but there's really nothing more to talk about than to say like, oh, we're sorry that they passed away. And Gene Hackman is a legendary actor. However, the manner in which Gene Hackman has died is very, very odd, and some would even say suspicious. So not only did Gene Hackman, who was set 96, man, like he got up there, he was 96 when he passed away, but his much younger wife, who was in her 60s, was also found dead, as was his dog. Now, Gene Hackman had 3 German Shepherds, I believe, and only one of them passed away. But this is actually like kind of an interesting story, and I wanted to get everyone's theory on this because this is very weird. So basically, in 2004, Gene Hackman retired from acting, and he retired
would too after working with Ray Romano.
He retired to his like $6 million estate in New Mexico. He basically vanished off the face of the earth. And he was with his, I believe it was his second wife, Betsy Arakawa, who was a classical pianist who he met at a gym. And basically they were living together. He had 4 children from his previous wife. And it was actually a $3.3 million mansion that they retired to in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And it was him, his wife, and his 3 German Shepherds. And it came out the other day that he was found dead, passed away. And that wasn't really too, surprising, because everyone's like, well, he was in his 90s, like he was pushing 100 years old. So it was only a matter of time. However, the fact that his wife and his dog were also found dead in their estate was a little bit suspicious. And so I want to give you guys the breakdown of how they were found. So essentially, there were 2 estate workers, like gardeners and stuff like that, who hadn't seen them in 2 weeks. And so they show up and they do kind of like a wellness check on them, just to kind of see like what's going on. And they find both Gene Hackman and his wife dead in the house. They call the police. The police come in. So Gene Hackman, you think like, oh, he passed away in bed, he was old, but he was actually still quite spry for 96. And he was found in the mudroom of the house. And for those of you who don't know what a mudroom is, it's basically like a room where you come in from outside and get off all your muddy shoes and your coat and stuff like that. But he was found in the mudroom. It looked like he had just like died suddenly. He had his cane and his sunglasses beside him. And there was no signs of foul play. Like it wasn't like he was shot or stabbed or hit over the head or anything like that. It just looks like he died in the mudroom as he was like, I think, getting ready to go outside. And then his wife was found in the bathroom near the front door. And in that bathroom, his wife, who was in her 60s, was surrounded by spilled bottles of medication. And in the closet of that bathroom was the dog that they found dead. And according to...
Correction, it was in a crate.
Well, all
weird.
the stuff I'm seeing
yes.
says that it was in the closet. But
the crate was in a closet, yes, but it was in a crate. It was still crated up, yeah.
Okay, so the dog that was dead was in a crate in the bathroom closet.
Wait, was the crate was locked?
Yeah, so this
trapped
is
in
the
the
odd
crate?
part.
Oh,
See,
okay.
the 2 dogs, there's 3 dogs. Two were roaming free. And here's another part that I don't know if is in every report, because I've been going through this thing for the last 2 days. There is a doggy door. And my understanding is the doggy door does go both ways. So the dog that was inside doesn't mean that both dogs weren't outside to begin with, or vice versa. But they were just free to roam the premises. And some people have been saying, well, they probably had the one dog crated up because they were probably training it.
Yeah.
It was probably a younger dog. And something happened between one of the 2, or there was a gas leak, although they said there wasn't no carbon monoxide poisoning. So maybe they ate something together that did this. We don't know yet. It just doesn't seem like there was any kind of struggle, any way of anybody coming in and doing anything. And they were there for almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, so Tom, let me set the stage here. So basically, it looked like both the wife and Gene Hackman died suddenly in the bathroom and the mudroom. There was a heater that was found close to the wife's head, even though like it looks like she just knocked it over like when she fell.
That's probably what caused the mummification too, by the way.
Yeah, both were slightly mummified. Like in her case, she was in a state of decomposition where like her face was swollen and stuff, but her hands and extremities looked like they were like mummified, which is basically like they were dried out essentially.
Mhm.
And according to Gene Hackman's pacemaker information, he was dead for at least 10 days before he was discovered. So there's a time frame here that the police are trying to figure out, and they're also trying to figure out what caused these deaths, because it's very suspicious what happened. It looks like both of them just died suddenly. They're not quite sure if the medication had anything to do with it. It's all very suspicious right now. So Tom, since you've been following this, why don't you give us your breakdown of what you think might have happened with Gene Hackman and his wife?
I mean, yeah, you basically got all the stuff that I know out there. The other thing was their kids, at least one of their kids spoke out and said that they knew of no health issues that Gene was having at the time. So they don't think that played a factor into it. He hasn't had any surgeries lately or anything like that. This is a complete mystery. Because it doesn't, at first I was confused because it sounded like people had access to the property. But it turns out the individual who called 911, who was a grounds worker there, he saw them from outside the house.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that's the other problem is there were so many reports coming out. I even got a hold of my buddy who works in the system in New Mexico, and he wasn't even up to speed as far as I was. And I'm like, you guys got to get a hold of this, get ahead of this thing. It's getting out there fast and furious, and there's all sorts of different things out there that don't line up. So I'm honestly curious what is actual real and what isn't, and I don't think we'll get a really good picture of what happened until they do the autopsy, which is going to be a couple of weeks. The sheriff did give us some new information on the more recent thing when he spoke out, but really it was just mainly that they took some pills, they took their phones. It makes you wonder if something maybe like Gene was having an issue with his heart and she ran in to get, some pills, and there was something in the house that they haven't quite figured out yet, or something they ate beforehand, maybe something they were exposed to on their way home. Because if he was in the mudroom, which is basically the porch, and she was in the washroom, which is right next to the front of the entrance, they said, the guy who saw them had to be able to see both bodies from the window, right? So it wasn't like she was in the bathroom with the door closed or anything like that either. So it's the set of circumstances are so strange. Plus, I mean, a lot of people are like going, oh, he died and she went and committed suicide because there was pills around her. And you even got people going, oh, the dog died because they got the pills. Like, no, there's so many different stories out there that we don't know what's going on. We don't know.
Well, I didn't know
actually caused the death.
The
And I don't think anybody committed any kind of, thing as far as not saying the word too much, because I don't think they would have left the dog crated up. That's the other thing.
I think the dog probably just died of dehydration or something because it was locked in the crate.
Or whatever caused the death of those two.
Well, so my theory is pretty simple. I think Gene probably had an episode and fell down or had a heart attack. His wife came in and find him, and she probably ran into the bathroom to get his pills or something to help him, or something to help her. And then she probably, in her excitement, might have had a heart attack or something and died too. Listen, 3 weeks ago,
She could have slipped and fell and we didn't know it because the floor would have been dry by now.
When you come into something, I'll tell everybody my quick little story. 3 weeks ago, I went downstairs after a game stream, and my mother-in-law was lying flat on her back in the kitchen in a pool of blood because she had a heart attack and fell down, hit her head. And there's a big old blood pool, about this big around, that she was laying in, and she passed away 4 days later. But when I came into that, you get a massive adrenaline rush, and you're yelling for my wife, come downstairs, call 911. And she comes downstairs, and, she's excited. And when you come across something like that, maybe in her excitement and her adrenaline, maybe her heart exploded or something too, or she had some kind of episode that, I don't know, man. There could be all kinds of things, but I would like to know what kind of pills they were that were scattered around. Were they just like ibuprofen or something, or what?
The pills were Tylenol, some type of blood pressure medication, and one other type of like prescription medication. So it wasn't like drugs or anything like
nothing crazy,
ordinary. Yeah, But what's interesting about this Dutch is that there was no blood, there were no
Mhm.
signs of foul play, and the prevailing theory originally was that there was some type of carbon monoxide poisoning, but according to the investigation, that's not the case. Mr. Philip Chan, do you have any theories about what could have caused these sudden deaths?
All right, mine is crazy, and sort of being like a conspiracy theory and stuff like that. So, when Kash Patel was a again, when he was basically sworn in, I believe there's someone who said, I forgot who it was, that basically we have about 10 days until the Epstein list drops. All right. So then, once basically up, but the thing is, 10 days. So 10 days. So he's been dead. So I'm assuming he was like, oh crap, I'm a part of the Epstein list. I gotta, remove myself. My wife's involved, and then you know what? I'm gonna go down to the dog and stuff like that. And then like they all just like made a pact and just basically, off themselves. But like giving the fact that we're getting more information from both Tom and in the article that Matt was reading, like I don't think that's the case anymore. But hey, I like my conspiracy theories. But the fact that they're gone for 10 days, it's sort of weird. The dog in the crate in the closet is sort of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think it is. I don't think it's weird at all because sometimes maybe they were just crate training the dog when all this went down.
But I see what he's saying. That tells me it was probably most likely an accident and not something on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I was saying. Because in most cases, even if somebody's distraught like that, they have 3 dogs. If you're an animal lover, and that's what's gotten a lot of people like going, that's weird. And that to me is the weird part. Is you would think that if she was planning on doing this after she found him, because that's everybody's theory is that she found him dead, went and committed suicide. If that's the case, wouldn't she have let the dog out? Why leave the other 2 dogs roaming the premises and not that one? It makes no sense. And there's other things that just don't quite add up. But yeah.
Yeah. Also, Dutch, I would think like the first instinct, if she found him, rather than go get his pills, it would be to call 911. So like,
right.
You'd think that there would have been some type of.
I mean, I get that. I'm just, bottom line is we're probably never going to know the story here because, you got a really old guy. He was 95 years old. You know,
6 or 7 actually, wasn't he?
So something 96. Like that. And I mean, you don't want to like. I just it's like I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird that they both died like that. But I'm just thinking, about it's been 10 days. When I was in Oregon, we had a dealer that worked for us that he had some issues, and they found him like. He disappeared and they ended up finding him like 2 weeks later in the hotel room and he'd been dead for like the whole 2 weeks. And he was just and this was in the hot time of summer and no air conditioning. And he was just like a soupy mess when they found this guy. It was gross from the stories that I heard, but so I guess we're lucky that they lived in a dry climate. So I guess so the composition wasn't too bad, but I don't know, man. It's weird. I don't know the answers. None of us do. I don't think any of us.
Oh, well, I don't know. Brian might know the answers.
I don't know the answer.
What's your take on this?
I think they were old people, bro. And I think that Gene probably had some kind of episode. His wife tried to help him and tragically also had probably an episode. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
I mean, they're super old.
Get your heart racing. I mean, she's only in her mid 60s. But if she's getting excited because she finds her husband, it's like, oh my god, I need to, and then she probably had a heart attack or passed out and hit her head or something like that.
Right. Yeah, the dog was being crate trained. That's pretty obvious. I have dogs. I breed dogs sometimes. It's not all the time, but a way of having these dogs, and when they're young, they have to be crate trained so that they don't poop all over the house.
And it gets them ready in case you have to leave anywhere and they get crated up or they go to the vet.
It's a very common thing.
Yeah.
Well, my regular main dog, she goes wherever she wants because she's trained.
Yeah.
Her puppies, when she has them, have to be trained, and you have to use a crate. And so if we're not around, those dogs are gonna die. They will die by themselves. Meanwhile, my regular dog, she might also die without me because she's really small, but she'll live a lot longer. She'll probably eat my dead body or something.
Nice.
Your children
I-
will be dead by me.
I do have to address something. OAW Entertainment. I wasn't joking when I mentioned the what's it called again, the Epstein file list, because that was something that went through my head. So if you think that I'm fucking joking about someone's death, you gotta
Yeah, but
check
wasn't
yourself.
Epstein
Man.
like 12 when he retired? I mean, like,
No, Epstein was definitely older than 12.
I know, I'm just
when
kidding.
Gene Hackman
I
retired.
just don't see necessarily him being somebody that would even be remotely close to that.
No,
list.
like for me, it's just like there's a bunch of these conspiracy things that I dive into, and a lot of people like it's like, who the fuck's this guy? Get this chink out of here and stuff like that. Look, they're like, you gotta chill, bro.
Yeah, if everyone thinks, I mean, I'm sure you can like a Gene Hackman movie and be defensive, sure, but like, let's not pretend he wasn't Hollywood. So I'm not
Absolutely.
saying he's part of the Epstein client list, but he was deep Hollywood. So let's not pretend he was virtuous, man.
I go out. I'd say he's a bit outside of Hollywood because as soon as he retired,
Yeah.
he got the fuck up out of Hollywood
Yeah.
and never
Yeah.
looked
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, he was a very private person.
Do you remember that movie, the one with, I think it was Wyatt Earp. The movie was called Wyatt Earp. It was Kevin Costner. It was like his super long version of Tombstone. You guys recall that? It was
Yeah.
like the 4-hour version of Tombstone, basically, right? And so Gene Hackman was in that movie. He played his father, I believe, in the beginning of the movie. Anyways, there was an interview he did where he was asked about his role in Wyatt Earp, and I'll never forget this. He goes, "I thought I was reading for Tombstone." I
Well,
laughed my ass off, man.
there's a reason for that because it's a little long ass story, but Kevin Costner was originally going to be in Tombstone, and the only reason that Wyatt Earp exists is because of Tombstone. But
Yeah.
basically, Kevin Costner wasn't happy that Tombstone was all about his character.
Right.
Is the reason supposedly. So he went and did his own version, which was more historically correct and all revolving around Wyatt Earp and Wyatt Earp only, not so much about the brothers and Doc Holliday and all the business that
Yeah.
corral.
And it's like 3 hours long. It's super long.
Yeah, it's very pretentious. It's decent, but it's like up against Tombstone, which Tombstone's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
and has the better.
I liked
actors,
Wyatt
yeah.
Earp,
Yeah.
and then I saw Tombstone, and I was like, oh, well. I mean, this is just so much, it's just easier to digest.
But also Unforgiven, one of Gene Hackman's
Oh God,
tour de forces.
I don't deserve this. Deserve's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, he was a fantastic actor. What was funny about Gene Hackman is like he was really well known in Hollywood for not suffering fools easily. So like he would do stuff to test the directors he was working with, and
Yeah.
if directors failed his test, he'd basically take over the movie, and or he
It's a
wouldn't
class
like
act.
take direction from them or anything like that
He
because
did
didn't
get
trust them.
overtaken. He did get tricked by one director that I do know of, though. Do you know this story with Richard Donner?
I don't.
Okay, so when he got the job as Lex Luthor, the big thing was he didn't want to shave his head. So they're like, okay, well, we'll work out something with these fancy wigs, and you can wear wigs through most of the movie. He's like, all right, fine. He goes, but I'm not shaving the mustache. Okay, the mustache is just not going anywhere. And he's like, come on, Gene, you got to shave the mustache. Everybody knows Lex Luthor doesn't have a mustache. Nope, it's my trademark. I'm not cutting it off. And they happened to be on the phone when this conversation was happening. So Richard goes, all right. I'll tell you what. Think about it when you come to the set. If you shave your mustache, I'll shave mine. So the first day on the set, they finally talked Gene into it. He comes out, shaved mustache and all. He comes up to Richard. He goes, well, I did my part. Now it's time for yours. So he goes, oh, yeah. And he looks at him and he goes, rips off the fake mustache.
That's amazing.
He goes, that son of a bitch.
So the better story is how John McTiernan got Sean Connery to cut off his ponytail for October.
I don't know if I know that one, actually.
You never heard that one?
Maybe. I don't think so, though.
So basically, John McTiernan got the crew to start circulating a rumor that men who had ponytails were gay. And Sean Connery heard this rumor being talked about on set, so he like cut off his ponytail, even though like he had been insistent that he wasn't going to do that.
Tiernan goes hard, man. Like that motherfucker went to prison.
Yeah, right on. All right, but any final theories about what could have caused this, don't want to call it a double homicide, but like, a
No.
double death.
I think they're gonna find that it was natural causes for both
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think in all seriousness, I think he just probably just had a heart attack, and then I think people just get an adrenaline rush, and then maybe because we're not sure how what shape her what shape she was in when she went to the restroom,
Yeah.
like if she was overweight or whatever, and like she could probably just died, and then it's just maybe a freak
No,
accident.
she
or
was
something
a
like that.
very petite Asian woman.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
She-
just gonna
she
say
was-
some of us are overweight and we could die at 40.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she could have had heart problems or something, or
Yeah.
something like that. you
like
know.
my cousin, she got a heart attack at 23,
Mhm.
and she was a nurse. She's extremely fit, and like she survived the heart attack, but like a random heart attack. She wasn't doing any drugs or anything like that. So people can just get heart attacks, and if you're a specific age, you just die. And it's extremely unfortunate that they both died, and the dog died too. So like that's the reason why when the news came out, it's like, because I was actually live when the news broke. I was like, he died, she died, and the dog died. Like, what's going on? Like, that's why I originally thought that
It's
it was
definitely weird.
foul. It was foul play. But then now when more stuff came out, but like I think like Brian said, I don't think we're ever gonna hear the actual reason why they passed away. Maybe an autopsy, but we just have
Yeah,
to
it's
wait.
going to be a few weeks at least. But yeah, no, I mean, I guess what we can do is hope that, I mean, this is a tragedy all around.
Yeah.
It's sad because I would rather be celebrating his legacy as an actor, because he was one of the greatest heavies and character actors of our time, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he's technically considered an A-list actor, but I mean, he never had a ton of movies where he was the star, right? Like Hoosiers, a few other ones, but even then, it wasn't about him per se.
That's a good movie.
But I mean, he's just one of those guys that was one of the most consistent actors for close to over 40 years. I think it was his career spans from the early 60s into the early aughts. So I mean, he gave us everything he could, give us some brilliant performances and great films, and all we can hope for is that it was probably something that we can hope that it was something quick and nobody suffered, right? Like that's the thing. I think the thing that most people are probably upset about is thinking if maybe the dog suffered, if either one of them may have suffered for a day or two laying on the floor just yelling and screaming for help or something like that. That would be tragic. Like the most we can hope for is that it was quick and painless for both of them and the dog, and that we find out it was just a sad tragedy that happened, and it could be just a combo of many things. It's too bad, and hopefully we'll find out, and he will be missed. So.
Well, one interesting aspect that I don't think I mentioned is that the front door to the property was open. The police said that there was no sign of forced entry. There was no sign of foul play. However, because the deaths are suspicious, they did go to a judge to get like a search warrant. They said that the toxicology reports won't be back for like another 3 months or something like that. Depends on like how backed up the labs are. But the children of Gene Hackman seem to want to find out like what happened. I think that they're not too surprised about their father, but their stepmom's death is definitely like something that's very suspicious for them. So it'll be interesting to see like what comes of this, basically.
Yeah.
Speaking of interesting to see, I'm interested to see some super chats. We got Doc Fortune for $5. Can't wait till the story is out of the news so I can stop hearing about how an innocent dog starved to death locked in a crate. Yeah, that's a real crappy thing about this. Yeah.
Yeah, is hopefully we find out that's not the case. I mean, but we don't know yet. So.
Indeed. Mexican Iron Man for $9.99. Sorry I'm late. Woke up late from my birthday celebration. Happy birthday, Mexican Iron Man. With Echo Base Nick last night. I may have made some questionable life choices last night. Oops.
I am very jealous of what they got to do.
Does that mean that there might be like mini Mexican Iron Mans pitter-pattering around?
He was supposed to tell me if there is or isn't sex in the champagne room.
Well, there probably is, Tom, just so you know. And we got
you may want sex in the champagne room.
We got R to the Icky for $19.99. My favorite Gene Hackman role was him as the dad in the Royal Tenenbaums. He calls Danny Glover Coltrane and says, "You want to talk some jive? I'll talk some jive like you've never heard." And of course, we got Mr. Butters Superfan, Made You Say Butts for $20. $20 for 20K subs. Congratulations,
Nice.
SMP. Movie reviews returning. Hackman was a next level actor. They don't make him like that anymore. Joined late. Favorite Hackman film or performance? If you already said, I'll watch later. Guys, what was your favorite Gene Hackman film or performance?
Probably Superman. I mean, that's the only one I can think of that comes to the top of my head every time I think of Gene Hackman.
I mean, he
Lex
was
Luthor.
my Lex Luthor growing up.
Yeah,
because
me
like
too.
there was a
Yeah.
time where it was one of the first movies I remember seeing, and to me, him and Christopher Reeve were Superman and Lex Luthor. They weren't
Mhm.
actors. Eventually, I learned they were actors. And probably like now, personally, my favorite film of his, as far as performance wise, has got to be French Connection. Like I watch it just for his performance.
What about you, Brian?
I mean, he's my Lex Luthor, you know. Actually, no,
Sure.
he's my first Lex Luthor. I would probably say Michael Rosen, whatever, is my actual Lex Luthor. That's the Lex Luthor I watched when I was a young adult. But my first introduction to Superman after the comics, like live action, was Gene Hackman.
What about you, Mr. Philip Chan? What's your favorite Gene Hackman movie performance?
I would say the first movie that I've seen Gene Hackman was Superman. I think his performance as Lex was just, I think it's people try to try to be sort of be him, you know, like have like at least a little bit of Gene Hackman when they're doing their well, not Jesse Eisenberg, but in terms of him, it's just he sort of paved the way for like a good like foundation for playing Lex Luthor. I think his performance for that one, for me, it will always be nostalgic for me. Just like
Mhm.
you can't compare to that. Like I do really love Michael Rosenbaum in Smallville, but I think no one can beat him in terms of like his performance as Lex.
I'm surprised that none of you mentioned number one, Crimson Tide, which is
That was a
one
good
of my
one,
all-time
too.
favorite movies.
Yeah.
Or The Quick and the Dead. I feel like
I
both of
just
those
watched
are
that
peak-
last night,
peak
actually.
Gene Hackman. Yeah.
It's pretty good, but he's so good in French Connection, and he in as far as his bad guys, I mean, Little Bill is the most complicated one he ever played in Unforgiven.
Oh yeah. Unforgiven is top tier. Hackman. Just everyone in that movie is top tier. It's a really good movie. You guys know what isn't good though is Kathleen Kennedy and Star Wars. And the big news this week, guys, was that Kathleen Kennedy is going to be retiring by the end of 2025. And this was an quote unquote exclusive from Puck News. And what was kind of funny is like when I first heard about this, I basically saw it from Variety and Hollywood Reporter. And so like I lended a little bit of credibility to it because of these outlets. However, when I saw that they were both referencing a story from a news source that I've never heard of before, I was like, okay, this is probably BS. Because since 2018, I don't know if you guys know this or not, since 2018, I've been saying Kathleen Kennedy is not getting fired. She's not retiring. She's not going anywhere until she decides to do so. And every time her contract basically comes up for renewal, these stories about her firing or quitting or something like that always kind of like pop up. And to that, I always say like, yeah, that's fake news. It's not happening. This time around, it was a little bit interesting because they were talking about succession, where basically she was like, I'm thinking about stepping aside and handing the reins over to someone that I'm going to hand select. And a lot of news sources were reporting on that from an insider source, right? And it appears that the reason that the Hollywood Reporter and Variety ran with the story from a news site that nobody's ever heard of before is because they had like the same insider source that Puck News had confirmed this to them, somebody who's like supposedly close to Kathleen Kennedy. And then, of course, we have this story. And by the way, links to all of this is in the description of the video if you guys want to do your own research. But basically, Kathleen Kennedy, after a couple of days came out, CNN ran a story that said like, oh no, this is fake news, which is kind of ironic coming from CNN. But Deadline basically sent Matt Fleming Jr. out to interview Kathleen Kennedy. And she basically said, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm probably going to die in office. So like she made it very clear that she's not retiring. but she has been having conversations with Bob Iger and Alan Thorne, who's the head of the movie division of Disney, about who might take over for her when it does come time for her to step down. And there's been a lot of speculation about how like she might step down at the end of the year, but continue to produce movies in more of a creative role, kind of like how Amy Pascal has continued to produce Spider-Man movies despite not being the head of Sony Studios anymore. And then like kind of overseeing her hand-chosen successor, who would then carry on her legacy at Lucasfilm. And I've always said that if she ever decides to retire, she's going to handpick somebody who's going to preserve her legacy of terrible Star Wars movies and TV shows, simply because like she doesn't want to have her legacy tarnished, because she is one of the most powerful female producers in Hollywood at the moment. But she did kind of stay wishy-washy in this interview by Mike Fleming about whether or not she's 100% not going to step down as CEO of Lucasfilm at the end of the year.
She kind of confirmed everything, just from a different point
Yeah,
of view.
she kind of left it vague and open, but it is clear that like she's not planning to leave anytime soon. But the possibility of her appointing a successor is still there. But this is just more of the same BS. Like we all got too caught up with all the winning that's been happening lately. We're like, oh yeah, Kathleen Kennedy is leaving for sure. In fact, I believe Critical Drinker actually made a video about it, and then like literally the next day, it's like, nope, she's not going anywhere. She's going to die in office. But I want to throw this to Mr. Philip Chan. Do you think Kathleen Kennedy is ever going to get ousted from Lucasfilm?
I would say that her ego is so big she doesn't want to leave on a terrible note. As of right now, Star Wars has never been lower. Everything that's been coming out so far, there's basically zero hype for Andor season 2. The only thing that they have going for them right now is the Grogu and Mando movie, but like that movie has to do really, really well in order for her. But here's the thing though, if it does do really well, she's going to stay. Right, because she wants to leave Hollywood, or she wants to basically quit producing until, I want my legacy to be really, really good before I leave. And I don't think she's going to leave, because we've been hearing this for like this past 6-7 years now, that she said that she's going to leave, right? And these are all just rumors too. These are all just rumors throughout the entire thing.
There's no salvaging her
I'm not
legacy.
leaving.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the other thing that we keep hearing is that she's been planning on leaving, which is possibly true, but the problem is they can't find anybody who's willing to take over who can do the job, is what we keep hearing, or at least that Kathy will sign off on.
Yeah,
because I can't remember her name, but there was this one chick who was up for the job possibly, and she just up and left for, I think, Paramount, because there was clearly nothing. Because Kathy was never going to leave. Like, I can't remember who it was, but like, yeah,
was it Michelle Rejwan?
Yes, I think so, or somebody like that. Yeah, it wasn't Beck. It was the other one.
Like the closest person that we had that we had that could potentially, but like I guess she didn't know was what's it called? Feige. No, was it Feige? Yeah, was it Kevin Feige? I think it was the closest person. And then they're like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "No, I didn't sign off on this." And then they ended up not using him. So it's just, maybe they want another female. Leslie Headland, I don't know.
No.
But like I don't think she's going anywhere. I think she's gonna stay on until like things are really, really good. She can potentially, hopefully in her eyes, salvage Star Wars, and then look, I left on a good note. I saved Star Wars or whatever. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Well, what's interesting is that basically, so the guy who wrote this article for Puck News is named Matthew Belloni, right? Not Baloney, but Belloni. And the guy who wrote the response or the interview in Deadline is named Mike Fleming Jr. And apparently these guys don't really like each other too much. But the Deadline article says that Belloni for years has been beating on Kennedy like she owes him money. And this week he reported that Kennedy was retiring. I admire Belloni's hustle and ability to turn over hard ground, but his penchant for defining industry people like Kennedy in disparaging ways, well, I just don't understand that. What's happening at Lucasfilm is I've been basically in the Deadline article, Kathleen Kennedy says is what's happening at Lucasfilm is I've been talking for quite some time with both Bob Iger and Alan Bergman about the eventual what eventual succession might look like. We have an amazing bunch of people here, and we have every intention of making an announcement months or a year down the road. And Tom Connors Jr., did you hear anything about Baloney's response to, her denying this?
I did. We
You wanna
actually
share that
have
with
his
us?
response. I'll bring that up here. Yeah. Let me get this. But no, like this is one of the funniest back and forths I've ever seen between quote unquote scoopers or whatever. Because I don't know if you were clear about the thing with Kathy. Like that was a full on interview, and it was probably one of the longest interviews she's given since she's taken over Lucasfilm. Like it is just she is pissed, and what she is pissed about is she did not get to control the narrative. That's what this is about. Because, like you said, she basically confirmed everything that was in Matthew Baloney's story, and he says the same thing here. So this is what he put out in response to that. He goes, Kathy Kennedy contorts around Kathy Kennedy contorts around confirming her exit. I don't usually descend into lame back and forth and trade reporters, but this one was particularly amusing. Deadline's Mike Fleming, who never saw a movie producer's anal cavity he couldn't burrow inside, did a hilariously sycophantic interview with Kathleen Kennedy after I broke the news. And yeah, if you have not read the interview, like I'm sitting here reading it going, this motherfucker knows what her asshole tastes like. Like he is just up that shit like you wouldn't believe. Wow. Like kissing her ass like nobody's business. Anyway, on Monday that the Lucasfilm, he goes, I broke the news that on Monday that the Lucasfilm president will announce her exit by the end of the year. It was quite something. Addressing the news, Kennedy basically confirmed it, saying that she and Disney's Bob Iger and Alan Bergman have a plan for succession at Lucasfilm with every intention of making an announcement in months or a year down the road, which is exactly what I reported. It'll be months, not a year. But instead of acknowledging the confirmation, Fleming attacked me personally and bizarrely claimed I had reported that Kennedy was retiring. Stupid. In fact, I wrote that Kennedy will continue to produce maybe her husband, Frank Marshall, which she also confirmed. I will die making movies, she said, foreshadowing her post-Lucasfilm plans. I think she said at one point she's never going to die either. I've also wasted too much space on this. Kennedy's exit announcement will come sometime this year, later this year. We will move on, and Fleming will embarrass himself on other topics. One influential figure at Penske Media, which owns Deadline, already reached out to me to apologize for Fleming's behavior. Partial blame here goes to Kennedy's personal publicist, Simon Hall. So now we have a name to know who, like, my guess is the person who made the phone call to let everybody know that Gina Carano was fired was Simon Halls. So this is somebody we should probably look into. Who's been busy this week spinning journalists that Kathy's timeline is all speculative and there's nothing new here, and more BS like that, which has popped up in some articles now. In Kathy's own words, we now know Monday's new news was accurate and she's planning her exit. Thanks, Mike. So yeah, so this has gotten kind of out of control as far as like a tit for tat with these guys, because I was with you basically the moment I heard it. Like, I know who Baloney is, or Bellany, or however you want to say it, but I call him Baloney on purpose. And I think he's got quite the bias, and he does get some things once in a while that seem credible, but other times it's just he's just throwing stuff out there just to see if it sticks and other people pick it up, and they take him seriously because he used to work for the Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah, and I want to show this World of Real thing, which I thought was funny. So this is by Jordan Rumi, and he has this great opening line to this article where he says, if a Hollywood studio or creative wants to do damage control, then they usually call Deadline's Mike Fleming Jr., and he'll gladly carry the water for them. So there's a lot of credibility issues here. But what was interesting to me about the Puck News article is that basically, like, there's a big paywall here. And so I feel like this was kind of like bait to get people to like actually subscribe to Puck News.
He's been doing this for a while, yeah.
Yeah, but Brian,
hey.
I want to know what you think about the future of Star Wars and whether or not Kathleen Kennedy is ever actually going to retire.
I do not care. I have no interest in Star Wars any longer. I am completely over that franchise. And I only kept the lightsaber because I think it might be worth money someday. That's it.
Who do you think might replace her?
Oh, Kevin Feige.
You really think it's going to be Feige?
Kevin Feige?
I think it'll be Feige.
I think the rumors we've been hearing is going to be a combo of Beck and Filoni.
Of
I
who in
bet you it'll be
Filoni?
Feige. If I-
Either
if I-
going to
if
pull
I-
a DC and you're going to have Filoni handle the actual creative side of things while Carrie Beck handles the financial
business
side.
side.
You'll still have Kathleen Kennedy hanging around producing movies. As you and I and everybody has been saying, it doesn't matter when she actually leaves the building. Her name is still going to be attached to this crap. It's going to still say executive producer Kathleen Kennedy for years, just like Amy Pascal.
I don't know. If I had to bet on it, I would say Feige would take over it. But maybe you're right.
Well, Brian,
I don't know.
He could. I'm not saying he won't. I'm just saying.
Brian, a big part of this deadline interview was about some of the projects that they have kind of, in the pipeline and all the projects that they've been canceling. Kathleen Kennedy confirmed that the two that are definitely happening right now are Mandalorian and Grogu, which is Dave Filoni, and the Sean Levy Star Wars project, which I guess is going to be starring, what's his name? Tom, help me out here. It was
Which one?
the Sean Levy Star Wars.
Oh, that's the one that what's his face is hovering around that he obviously hasn't signed on to yet. Ken, what's his name? Gosling,
Yeah, the guy-
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling. Thank you.
What?
So Ryan Gosling is going to be starring in a standalone Star Wars movie.
We'll finally
by-
find out if he's Knuff.
Yeah. But also, she did mention that Taika Waititi is still working on a script for his Star Wars movie.
And she loves him.
And
She was
she
gushing
loves him.
over him.
Yeah. So we have these three movies that she has confirmed potentially are going to be, definitely made. What's your take on that, Brian?
I just don't care at all, bro. I don't care. I want to care just for you so I can give you an answer. But I don't. I don't care about any of these creatives. I don't care about the franchise. I'm not interested in the stories. None of the characters interest me anymore. I'm completely and totally over anything Star Wars.
Oh, we're gonna have a job opening on Salty Nerd panel here very soon, guys. So if you can send your resumes to Matthew Kadish at gmail.com or whatever.
Sorry, I know you guys want to like Star Wars. You want it to come back.
I don't. Brian,
Well, there's a new wrinkle in this.
I'm
You
with
guys
you.
hearing that you got Chris Gore and Film Threat putting out the rumor that supposedly they've been trying to sell Star Wars? I
That
don't know if I
wouldn't
buy
shock me.
this one, but I don't know.
I mean, that would make me interested again. if
Bro,
it was-
clearly Disney is incapable of making a good Star Wars product.
Right.
I mean, they haven't had a single one that's been
No, I mean,
worth a shit.
I guess one. I would say
One, maybe?
Rogue One. Rogue One
that
was a
was-
good movie.
And that was only because the people that made it had some semblance of respect for the source material,
Right.
a little bit, but there's
Yeah.
still got its own issues. But
Yeah, they have
You
not.
know?
They have only been mildly successful, and it's sparingly when they are so. Most of
Yeah.
their projects have been total flops. Like, I mean, I guess Galaxy's Edge is sort of cool. Like, if you're a Star
No.
Wars fan, I remember
No.
thinking when I went there with my kids a few months ago, I'm like, God, when I was a teenager, I would have been rock hard diamond coming into Galaxy's Edge because I loved Star Wars so much. Like, this was like a dream. I remember how cool would it be if I made my own theme park that was Star Wars, a Star Wars theme park. And then I felt really sad because I'm like walking through what is literally my like childhood dream, and I don't care. And it's
Yeah.
so it makes me sad that I remember dreaming about this as like a 15-year-old, a theme park, a Star Wars theme park, and how you can create it, and literally like,
And he got hard.
and yeah,
As a
rock
diamond.
hard. But like, dude, like imagine at 15 that Brian going into Galaxy's Edge. It would be a dream come true. And I'm walking in there with my kids, and I'm like, yeah, it's sort of cool. And then I felt sort of sad because I just didn't give a shit.
maybe George will buy it back. I don't know. But as far as this Kathleen Kennedy stuff goes, so what I'm hearing is that she probably is going to retire later this year, but somebody scooped it and made an article about it. So now she's upset that somebody scooped it. So now she's saying some stuff to deflect away from that, even though she's still probably going to retire later this year after Mando season 2 comes out. Is that what I'm getting? Is that the gist
I
of
don't
the
think
story?
I don't think she's going to be retiring. I think that she's going to be stepping back from being
Okay, well
CEO.
that's what I meant. That's what I meant. But
Yeah.
she just didn't want to. She wants to be the one that controls the narrative, not some freaking rag at chubb.com or whatever the fuck that place is called.
That's what I think she's most pissed
And
about. too,
yeah, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense to me. Yeah, and Brian, I'm with you, dude. I too, I have a hard time with Star Wars. I told everybody on X this week, quit falling for this crap. You know, that's you know, it's just
Yeah.
every 8 months somebody has to get some clicks on their tweets or on their website.
Yeah, it's pathetic at this
Oh,
point. dude.
Kathy's going to retire. It's like, okay, whatever. Who gives a shit? You know, she can stay in there for 20 more years, as far as I'm concerned. It's not going to change anything that's going on over there. It's still going to suck until they get brand new blood in Lucasfilm from the top to the bottom. Somebody like Elon's going to have to go in there and just DEI the hell out
Sell
of
it
that
to
place.
Elon.
Yeah, man, Elon will fix everything, you know, after he fixes Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. So, yeah, man, I don't know. It's going to take something like that. I don't think Elon has any interest in doing that. I kind of hope not, because I want other people with a brain on their head to start making these changes in there. You know, it seems to me like some people in Hollywood are starting to get the message, but I think Lucasfilm is just lost. I mean, even Disney is starting to make some changes from what I'm understanding, but yet, you know, in Marvel and everything. And I just, I don't know. Star Wars is lost to us right now. And I don't think I'm ever going to see it come back. So I don't know whatever. Hell, Kathleen Kennedy, stay there. I don't care.
Well, the good news is that Disney seems to be walking back on a lot of their DEI initiatives, and part of that is the radical feminism that Kathleen Kennedy has been injecting into Star Wars. Chris Gore is, you know, very on brand with him saying that by changing Star Wars to a girl brand, they're basically destroying the franchise. So like if we can get back to just like, you know, focusing on the male demographic for Star Wars stuff. I want to hear what you guys thought about like the Andor season 2 trailer, because like when I saw that, I actually got very excited. It was a little bit different than like your typical Star Wars trailer.
Did you get as hard
like,
as a diamond?
I got pretty hard when I watched it. It was pretty good.
Pretty hard.
I know you're all into your Andor. You like Andor. You were pretty.
I do like
Any
Andor.
chance you can bring up Andor, you will. So.
Well, the first season I felt got a little bit of too much flack because of the release schedule. Like it was basically a trilogy of movies that they cut up into half-hour episodes that they released week to week. And if you watch them all as intended, like it's actually like a very good, tight series. But this one, actually, season 2 actually looks like, you know, the season 1 was the build up to Rebellion. And this season looks like full-on rebellion. And so, like, I was actually impressed with the trailer. They used non-traditional music. It was more like a rock music.
I don't need that kind of music in Star Wars, dude. I thought it was
well,
weird.
it's not in the Star Wars. It's in the trailer, and I felt like
understand.
it was appropriate. But what was your take on the trailer, Dutch?
I've only seen it once, and I thought, just like any Star Wars thing, it looked technically kind of cool. There were some cool special effects and stuff in there. But I'm gonna be honest with you. The music that they played with the trailer took me completely out of it. It just made me. It's like I just felt like they still don't understand Star Wars. It's like, yeah, you can get a bunch of flashy special effects and show some cool things, but the weird rock music just doesn't do it for me. That's not what I wanted to see. And you know, honestly, yeah, right. You know,
by Beastie Boys.
I don't. I'm kind of with Brian. I am so mentally checked out of Star Wars, and I'm so annoyed about how they've taken care of the world that anything that comes out right now, I'm just instantly jaded towards. So I don't even know if I can give you an honest opinion on something with the Star Wars brand attached to it, because I'm kind of pissed and I kind of don't care, and I hate that because it's a sad state. But I just feel that way about so many things right now that are coming that are attached to all of our old entertainment. Yeah, I'm sick of it. You know, I think this last thing with the with the lesbian force users and stuff. I don't remember the name of that show.
The
What was the
Acolyte.
name of it? The Acolyte. That just I think that was the final nail in the coffin. I washing my hands of it. I could care less if I ever saw a new thing of Star Wars ever again. And it's a sad thing for me, but it is what it is.
Well, it is interesting that Kathleen Kennedy has kind of overseen like all these terrible projects. I mean, aside from the Rogue One and the Mandalorian first 2 seasons, like she hasn't really had any big hits. In fact, it's been like a steady, like kind of like downward spiral. Tom, what did you think of the trailer for Andor season 2? Tom, you there?
Tom.
Getting cereal.
I just happened to like got up the second you said my name. I was like,
God, just got up! God damn it, kid!
No, I don't give a shit about Andor. I like most people, apathy is set in a long time ago. I kind of I was one of those that I enjoyed Rogue One, but I had issues with how they treat Vader in it. It's like, this is not the same Darth Vader we see in a few minutes. But okay, whatever. And I mean, the movie overall was fine. I watched the first few episodes of Andor. I thought it was fine. I just didn't have the desire to go back and finish it, though. I already know where the character ends up. Other than that, I don't care. The music was a poor choice, in my opinion. I get what they were trying to do, and they're trying to make it look more exciting and feel more exciting than it really is. Because that was one of the big complaints they did get from the first season.
It's boring, bro.
Exactly.
Oh my
so that's
God,
what this
it's so
trailer
boring.
was a direct reaction to people saying, this is boring. So yeah, that's all it was. I mean,
You know what?
it is what it is. It'll be what it
5
is,
minutes
so.
of someone walking down a corridor. I mean, it's going to be boring. And I get it. It's like, oh, it's suspenseful and the thriller. And like, okay, wasn't for me, dude. It's boring. And I think Tom's completely right. That trailer is a response to every major criticism of Andor. Boring. God, it's boring.
What I find interesting is that the Andor series, out of all the stuff that's been made for Disney Plus or like in the Disney era, and this kind of includes Rogue One, is that it's the most faithful to the idea of a Star War. You know, like I feel like Tony Gilroy kind of gets what needs to happen in Star Wars, even though you might disagree about like how quickly he gets there. There were moments in Andor, the first season, that were just truly epic and really, really cool. And it looks like this season's going to be kind of like getting rid of all the setup and just going for the payoff. Philip, do you think that Tony Gilroy might be a good choice to kind of replace Kathy if she ever steps down?
Probably not. I think it's going to be Filoni. I think if anything, I think he's worked on enough Star Wars where people like know him by name. You know, like, oh, he did Rebels, and you know, like it's just. I think people are just like, oh, we know that name. But when it comes down to this trailer, yeah, the music. I just rewatched it just right now. The music is just so out of place. And the thing is, I feel the same way how I felt about Game of Thrones. Like we know where this is gonna end. We know where this leads to anyways. We know he dies. So it's just like it is cool, but it is like what everyone says is the best Star Wars show that nobody's watching. And I think it has its moments. It's very good. And I think the only way for people to actually even care remotely anything about Star Wars is if someone mentioned in the chat, and I talked about this too, is someone needs to basically take control of it, not make anything for a while, completely just like do something different 5-10 years later, where things is sort of like, oh, the dust has settled. It's sort of like what they did in between, what's it called again? Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace. I think we need that gap. You need a new audience where people aren't like, all right, you know, it's been a long time where like, you know, the pain is sort of subsided. Let's see what the new people who's in charge of Star Wars can do. And I think right now all the stuff that they're releasing, no one's really going to care about it because it's how damaged the IP has been.
It's going to be the new runner of Star Wars is going to be Pablo Hidalgo. Everybody, it's going to be Pablo. So.
Well, the crazy thing, Dutch Butters, is that Kathleen Kennedy hired Simon Kinberg, the guy who created Invasion, to write the new trilogy for Star Wars, which is supposed to relaunch the movie franchise. So
Can't wait.
Yeah, she doesn't have the best track record in actually recognizing real talent. But you know who is real talent? Our super chatters, guys. So we got Darth Maul's lower half for €2. Bite the bullet. YouTube won't let me write the word. I'm
That's
sorry
weird.
to hear that. Then we got a members chat for 11 months from Kocho Shark Dragon. Some say news of Kathleen Kennedy was to hype up Andor Season 2, but truth is it wouldn't matter to save Star Wars. Same issue for Disney. I feel like this came from Patreon. Yeah, it has that feeling to it. We got Hemorrhoid Hurts for an Australian $2. Up at 4 a.m. to get my name on the ticker. And done. Yes. Mission achieved, Hemorrhoid Hurts. We got Darth Maul's lower half, a member for 9 months. What do you think about the rumor spread by Chris Gore that Star Wars may be for sale and that they've been offering it for 7 months now and no one wants it? I think that there might be some truth to that. I don't see Disney actually shopping around like their IPs because like they're still making money off of like, licensing and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think that they would try to like clean house and rehabilitate it to make it worth more.
How much do they want for it? Can we do like a crowd raiser or fundraiser?
Yeah,
we
$5. $5.
Everybody donate $5 and Katie shall buy it and we'll fix it.
Yeah. I mean, like I have a lot of respect for Chris Gore, but I don't know about that. Like he made it clear that it was a rumor that he's been hearing, but I don't personally buy that. What about the rest of you guys?
They spend a lot of money on the theme parks, so I'm pretty sure they're gonna try to recoup that, especially with like what's it called again, the Star Cruiser. Like the whole thing is just like people are just like don't care, but I don't think they're gonna try to sell it.
I do wish I had gone to the Star Cruiser. It's too bad that's gone.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think licensing, like I used to work at Disneyland, so like when I worked at Tomorrowland and I heard that they're going to be making like a Star Wars land like in the future, I'm like, why are they separate? Like why is like the whole like Jedi Training Academy with Star Tours, which is the ride I worked on, and why is it different from Galaxy's Edge? Is because
are you in SoCal?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, dude, so am I.
So yeah, so like the thing is that
I worked at Disney too. That's funny.
Yeah, I worked there in 2008. And I remember when they told me, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to completely revamp Star Tours. It's going to be taking you to multiple locations now.
I remember that.
But yeah,
why isn't Star Tours in Galaxy's Edge?
They said that they want to
They
separate
got rid of it.
the old Star Wars from the new Star Wars.
No, there is Star Tours still. Yeah. They should have just turned Tomorrowland. Once they got Star Wars, they should have turned Tomorrowland into Star Wars. Like I don't know.
Yeah, they should have turned Epcot into the Death Star.
Yeah,
that
why not?
Really cool.
It's already there. That would have been rad. Yeah, there's a lot of things that Disneyland is just gone that I totally miss. Like I remember, like the House of Tomorrow and all the crazy sort of steampunk or retro futurism stuff they used to have. That's just gone. It just everything at Disneyland is so generic and corporate now. It feels like you're walking through like a sterile cardboard set.
That's exactly what the Las Vegas Strip feels like too.
It's crazy.
It's just all sterile and high tech and kind of boring. I actually was talking to my wife the other day. We were driving down the Strip. I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I kind of miss the scuzz. I miss the little dudes out there with the clickers handing out the porn.
Yeah,
porn phone numbers and everything.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It's like they're gone. They don't exist anymore. It's like
Yeah.
I need some Las Vegas trash out here, and it's the same kind of Disney. It's like you miss kind of the old stuff once it's gone. It's
Right.
like So yeah, I don't know. I get it.
Well, what's not gone is $2 from Kaliki Oki. Can't sell it for $4 billion like what they bought it for back in the day. Yeah, I think that they recoup their investment already though. Maybe.
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
God, if they haven't done it by now, then
Not even close.
Imagine that.
So Brian Keith for $5. Just when the KK rumors were going down, here we go again. I do hope the day comes when we don't have to talk about this talentless hack ever again.
me too.
Well, it's funny. Ever since the Last Jedi came out, I've been going on people's live streams and publicly proclaiming that she's not going anywhere anytime soon. And I feel like I was proven right once again. on this last round. Even though she might be stepping down, she's still not going anywhere. She's still going to have her fingers in everything.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I like being right. But guys, you know what isn't right is how the Trump administration handled the Epstein list rollout recently. And it was kind of crazy because this was like one of those things where a bunch of right-leaning influencers came out of the White House holding this Epstein binder, which was basically the release. And everyone from the, like, I guess, conservasphere, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, started dogpiling on these people. And it was one of those things where it reminded me a lot of right after Trump had his debate with Kamala, where all these same people who were complaining about these influencers getting this stuff early came out and basically said that Kamala had won the debate, that she'd embarrassed Trump, or that she'd beaten Trump, or like whatever. And I was just flabbergasted by the online reaction to this. In fact, we got this New York Post article here that says Trump DOJ feeds Jeffrey Epstein documents to underwhelm conservative influencers, and you should feel frustrated. And the day that this happened, my Twitter feed was just full of people talking about how this was a huge L for the administration, that they didn't know what they were doing, that these influencers were all like, you know, shills for the Trump administration. And this was all coming from their side of the aisle, right? You know, the left side was predictable, but the right side was just all over this, all over my Twitter feed, all over YouTube.
Bunch of grifters.
And I found it interesting because these are the people, they were complaining that they weren't releasing anything, right, on the Epstein files. And then the minute that they release something on the Epstein files, they start complaining about how it was released. And it's like, do you people not have, like is nothing good enough for you guys? It reminded me of that line from Dusk Till Dawn where George Clooney is like really pissed off because someone insulted him in the titty twister bar, and Harvey Keitel has to look at him and say like, are you such a loser that you can't tell when you're winning?
Right.
You know? And it's like, yeah, if the Trump administration made it clear that they weren't actually going to release these files, or they didn't have any intention of getting these files out to the public, that would be one thing. But the intention's there. And like, what's interesting is there were two things that I want to kind of point out here. The first one was Elon Musk going on Joe Rogan. If you guys haven't watched this yet, it was a great interview, but he basically said that, you know, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel were in office for, like, in Kash's case, like a few days, and Pam Bondi's case, like maybe like a week. Mm-hmm. And they hadn't cleaned out their respective departments yet. And so the people who are giving them the information that they requested are not to be trusted. And Elon made this very clear that they didn't have time to actually get the good stuff, right? Because they asked their people to deliver this stuff to them. And there was some fishy stuff going around because basically there was a whistleblower that came out and told Pam Bondi that all the actual files that the FBI had on this were being kept at the Southern District of New York. And so when she made the request from FBI HQ, they technically fulfilled her request by sending her all the stuff that pretty much everyone already knows about. But because they didn't have possession of it, and it was the SDNY that did, they technically fulfilled her order, right? Even though they didn't give her exactly what she wanted. And Kash Patel wasn't in long enough to make sure that, like, they were actually delivering the stuff that she was requesting. And then last night on Timcast IRL, they actually had Cernovich on there, Mike Cernovich, and he went into detail as to what happened. So basically, these conservative influencers, like DC Drano, lives at TikTok, all these people, were at the White House. Like, this had been scheduled on the books for like months, right? Like this was something that was completely unrelated to the Epstein case. They were like the new media that they were going to have like a talk with Trump with. And when they got there, they had these binders, and they gave them the binders, and they basically told them straight up, it's like, look, there's nothing new in here, but this is what happened. We had a whistleblower tell us about like all this other new stuff. So this is phase one of what we currently have, that a lot of it's already known. But we're going to be getting new stuff that we will be releasing to the public. But they made it clear that there was like a 3-hour, I forget what it's called, but there was like a 3-hour stay of like, allowing this information to go out. They were going to release it digitally, publicly. And so basically, like, these influencers who got this stuff weren't allowed to talk about it or address the press or anything like that for at least 3 hours. And so when they were basically, after their meeting with President Trump, and they were kind of like let out, what happened was is they were led to this exit where there was like a press pool, because they were waiting for the UK Prime Minister to come out with President Trump and get pictures of there. And when these guys came out, they basically snapped, like, they had no idea that the press was going to be there. And so the press like snapped all these pictures and all this other stuff. And it made it look like these guys were kind of celebrating the fact that they got these binders. And everyone in my Twitter feed that I normally like give a lot of respect to and respect their opinions were just dogpiling on these people, and they weren't allowed to defend themselves for 3 hours. And then, like, a day later, Cernovich goes on Tim Pool and basically lays out everything that happened. And then you have Elon Musk, who interviewed Joe Rogan, lays out everything that happened leading up to this. And I was just like, guys, like, if you're not happy about the fact that they're actually trying to get information out to people, it's like you're just being petty and mean, essentially. But that was my take on this. I think that we're going to be seeing, I know a lot of people are like, you said day one, so you should release this stuff day one. It's like, well, it's as close to day one as possible. I would rather they release it once they've like cleaned house and gotten like the real evidence and stuff like that. And Elon kind of made a joke about how, like, there's probably like one like 1998 Acer laptop with all this information on it hidden in the FBI. But Kash Patel needs to like go through like 7 layers of security before he can access it. And it's not even guaranteed if like it has a search function on it that can access all this information. But I want to hear your take on the reaction that the conservasphere had online with this stuff. I want to start with you, Brian, because your brain show is all about this type of thing. So what's your take on this?
I think that a lot of people are acting super hyper reactionary to this in a really bad way, and it makes all of us sort of look stupid. I like Jeremy from the Quartering. I know him. He's a good dude. But man, on Twitter, that guy is just so hyper reactionary. He calls everyone grifters, but like the whole point of his Twitter account or X account is to, get engagements by being hyper reactionary to every little thing possible on the conservasphere. The problem with this, what other administration is doing what the Trump administration does? Literally fulfilling their promises. Yeah, you guys, guess what? Day one, it's not happening, but they're working on it. Also, the chick involved, I guess she was bamboozled by the New York office, and so Kash Patel has to get involved. There's a lot of moving parts to this, and a lot of swamp monsters that don't want to be exposed. They probably don't want information to be out there. There's probably some evidence mishandling. There's probably a lot of moving parts here that we can't even see. Going nuts about not having the Epstein files day one. So nuts. The one thing I have to say that I sort of agree with is I don't know why they gave them to a bunch of these influencers. A lot of these conservative influencers, I think, are neocons. I'm not saying they all are.
How come we didn't get invited? That's
right. But a lot of them are just sort of along for the ride. Because we won, they're successful. Had we not won, we could have totally, I'm sure they would have grifted or drifted, whatever you want to call it, to the other side where they can still be successful. Because I don't think a lot of these people actually have loyalties to, the MAGA movement or whatever you want to call it. So I'm not sure why they got it. And that stupid photo op, they go, oh, it's not a photo op. We just took pictures all at the same time, holding the same exact binders and smiling for the camera. Okay, calm down. I know, I get that looks bad, but people need to be less reactionary and realize that this administration is doing exactly what they've said they're doing, what they said they would do. They just might not all be doing it at the exact time they said they wanted to do it, because there's a lot of moving parts. Give them a little bit of grace and let them get out, man. And someone say, hey, no JFK, RFK, MLK. No, we saw some stuff on MLK. We're seeing some of that stuff come through. but it takes time to do it, man. It's March 1st. He came into office mid-January.
January 20th. Yeah.
January 20th, guys. There's a lot going on.
He still doesn't have. He still hasn't even gotten his whole cabinet yet. I mean,
right.
The opposition are putting every roadblock they can in front of him to slow everything down. It's just going to take some time to get the things done that they want to get done. And he's already done more in the first 30, 40 days than
any administration in history.
Yes, it's crazy.
Someone says all talk, no action. Are we living on different planets, bro? What do you mean all talk, no action? It's been nothing but nonstop action. I changed one of my YouTube channels to completely cover this because it's every single day there's a whole new story happening.
The news can't even keep up.
This is the fastest. Yeah, no one can keep up. This is the fastest paced administration we've ever seen. Period. And so, like, I don't understand what the complaints are. Everything he's doing is exactly what we voted for. Let him cook, dude.
Yep, let him cook.
Yeah, Philip, what's interesting about this is that basically Pam Bondi, the current Attorney General, she ordered the FBI to deliver the Epstein files. It was a 200-page document that they brought to her desk. She redacted all the victim information from the stuff and then, released it as promised. But the night before they were set to release this stuff, she got informed that basically there was way more that they had been hiding from her that they did not deliver. And it was in the Southern District of New York. And what's interesting about this is that the person who not only oversaw the Epstein trial and the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and who is sitting on all this evidence, is the daughter of former FBI head James Comey. And so I want to hear your conspiracy theory about what's actually happening here and whether or not we'll actually get any of this evidence released.
Yeah, so like you said, it was originally said that it was supposed to have 200 pages. It's actually recorded that it's actually 1,000, over 1,000 pages worth of. I believe it's the Epstein Rolodex and the flight logs and people on his cell phone and stuff like that. So basically, the 200 pages that is sort of this is what you already know. Here's all the redacted stuff and all the conservatives that basically came out, they were there to talk to Trump and then they could have went out from a different location. They have multiple avenues they can leave the White House from. Why did they purposely go out from that part where all the tabloids and all the freaking journalists are located? It's because they didn't even know they were gonna get handed this binder, right? So, but with that one, that's the reason why. Going back to the James Comey thing, it was when Pam Bondi found out, she immediately wrote a letter to Kash Patel. Right, there's that letter that went out to Kash Patel, and I think having all of this, I think people on the conservative side, I think they just need to just chill and see what happens, is because you can't just steamroll everything. There's it's been even Kash said that there was a bunch of people that they were constantly trying to get rid of all of these files. They're literally deleting stuff off of the servers while he was actually being sworn in, so he can't get to all of them in time. We're not even sure what's removed, right, based off of that. So I know that Pam Bondi's trying to get all that kind of stuff out. I believe I was listening to I didn't watch the one with Cernovich, but I watched the one the day before, and with Timcast. It's they don't want any of this information getting leaked out. It's because there's so many high profile people. I heard that the Clintons were on a plane leaving.
We already know this. There's no secrets there.
There isn't, but it's just we already know that. We just want confirmation. This is 100% legit. And given the fact that I think this whole interfighting, it's release this shit all at once. It's it's gonna take time, bro.
What's really gonna suck is when we find Mexican Iron Man's name on the list, and we're gonna have to have a little chat with him. It's no,
hey,
bad Mikey.
Why are you on this list, bro?
What is this? Little sus there, bro.
I was doing his taxes, bro.
yeah. Taxes. Okay.
Well, what's interesting is that Jeffrey Epstein, he had his address list, right? Which basically everyone that he ever had contact with is listed in there. So their contact information, stuff like that. And some people are conflating that with with guilt, as opposed to like him just being a very well-connected rich guy that, you know, whose job it was to kind of network with like famous people and stuff like that. But Dutch, on the Joe Rogan podcast, Elon Musk mentioned 3 extremely wealthy and powerful political people that we know for a fact are on the list and have probably been behind the scenes trying to bury it or get evidence destroyed or whatever.
Yeah.
He listed 3 names in particular. First one was Bill Gates. The second one was Bill Clinton. And the third one was Reid Hoffman. And Reid Hoffman is a big Democrat donor. He's a big kind of like tech investor guy, co-founder of LinkedIn, and huge anti-Trump dude. And so like these are like the 3 guys who seem to be like most actively trying to suppress the Epstein files getting out. What's your take on that?
There's absolutely nothing new to what you just told me. We already knew that all those guys were on that list. You know, I don't really know what people think we're going to get from this information. I mean, because as far as I know, we're already aware of most of the people that are on that list. I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe it's time that they take the people that are on that list, and once they get the actual proof from this stuff, they need to start arresting people and start charging people with things, and that's what they want to avoid. They don't want to see Bill Clinton going on trial for diddling little girls, you know, and because I think that's what's going to end up happening. There's probably videotape of all these guys doing abhorrent things to underage people, and that's why Epstein had all this stuff was for influence and blackmail reasons, right? Isn't that what the whole kind of deal was?
Yep. It's a blackmail empire.
Right. Exactly. It's just like the Diddy stuff, you know. I mean, who knows who all's on this thing? But I don't think, you know, Clinton. Everybody knew Clinton was on this list. Everybody already knows it. You know, I'm surprised.
Yeah, no one's shocked. No one's shocked by that.
More people haven't disappeared. I mean, that's basically the theory why Epstein got ended, right? Because Clintons didn't want him to get it all out there. And
yeah, let me ask you a question. Who is powerful enough to kill a federal witness in a federal prison in the United States? Yeah. And no one knows how, what, when, or how. Or who.
Bill Gates and the Clintons, and you know,
who's powerful enough? Yeah,
it's insane. You know, I mean, I guess I'm just not smart enough to understand the ramifications of what's going to happen when all this gets out. I mean, but I don't think there's anybody on that list that I personally will be completely shocked and to know about that's on the list.
Bet you $100 Roger Stone's on that list.
Wouldn't shock me. You know, any of these guys, you know, so
the guy might be a Republican and a conservative or whatever.
There's Republicans on that list. There's absolutely
100%.
100%. There's not a lot of difference between Republicans and Democrats.
There is very little difference, actually.
No,
yes.
No. You know.
Well, Tom, you know, one of the aspects of this that I just found really disturbing was just how many people on like the right side of the aisle on social media were willing to cannibalize these guys. Like Tim Pool even said in his live stream, he's like, hey, the minute I saw the people who had those binders, I reached out to them personally and asked what was on it. Right. And this happened with Laura Loomer, where basically like she contacted Libs of TikTok and she was like, hey, can you scan what's in that binder and send it to me? And instantly Libs of TikTok did. It wasn't like these people were kind of like, you know, hoarding this information. Like they were out there to disseminate it. They just had to wait 3 hours before they could like legally do it. And the reaction though, like, you know, Brian mentioned the quartering, but there were like so many other people as well who were saying like, this is the first big loss for like the Trump administration. This thing was fumbled. This is a nightmare. These people are all shills. These people aren't to be trusted, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of it came off as kind of like petty and jealous in my opinion. So what was your take on the way that the Trump administration rolled this out?
I mean, they could have handled it a little bit better. Like, obviously, if they knew they didn't have everything up front and somebody was playing shenanigans behind the scenes, make that the story, right? Because what have the left been doing since day one in this whole thing? Running interference, right? They've come up with every excuse in the book. They even convinced Trump that he shouldn't release this list before. And the problem with this now and what this creates is this air of we'll never really trust anything that comes out when it finally does come out. And we already know that Trump's on this list somewhere, and the left is going to use that, right? And the more, it's almost like this was set up on purpose to make him look bad. And that's what it sounds like is it came to be, but it was like, how did nobody find that out or figure it out before this got out in the press and the way it was handled and all that kind of stuff? Like, I can understand both sides of this. But at the same time, you guys are right. Like, we've seen more action out of the Trump administration in the last few weeks than we did out of the entire Biden administration, as far as what we know, as far as transparency and what's going on and all that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, I don't have much to say about this. I don't know all the ins and outs. I haven't been following it like everybody else. I, like you guys, know that there's going to be a ton of names on these lists. I need more than just a name on a list, though, because as you guys said, this guy's job was, outside of the obvious bad stuff that he did, was just, dealing with celebrities, and he had planes, and he actually transported people, and it was part of what he did. And I think that's going to obfuscate or really going to mess with a lot of who was really going where, who was doing what, who was just using the planes, and who was actually going to the island and doing the bad stuff, right? And I think we all kind of have a good idea of the main culprits here, the worst of the worst, probably. I think they've already been named, but I, for one, don't believe any of it. I think my Clinton overlords are the greatest people in the world, and I would never say a bad thing about them. And anybody who does deserves everything that's coming to them. I hope you heard everything I said, so thank you.
It's probably gonna be like Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer, and all these old ass
Adam Schiff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
everyone
Shifty Shift is definitely on the list, bro.
Everyone who got a pardon, basically. But the thing to me, it's not necessarily about like what's in the Epstein files or like what's released. It's about the sheer outrage that I saw from like, it reminded me a lot about how the Phantom Menace broke up, right? Like, everyone started off as like kumbaya, we're all kind of like on the same side, and then it gets fractured when you have all this infighting going on. And it seemed like there was a lot of infighting when this stuff was happening, and I was actually genuinely surprised, because there's a lot of people I respect, a lot of people I follow, who just had the worst takes imaginable about what was happening with how the Trump administration decided to release this stuff. So I find that a lot more interesting than like what's going to be like in these files. Is that, okay, are some people revealing themselves to be grifters? Are some people revealing themselves to be outrage merchants? Should I reevaluate who it is I'm giving credibility to in terms of like who I follow and stuff like that? That to me was more of the issue than anything that was like in that binder or has yet to be released, or like whatever the case may be. So to me, that was like, the more important part. But what else is important, guys, are super chats, and we're going to be getting to those. So we have, we already did Klikioki. Sorry about that. We have Dread Pirate Mikey for $10.
Nice.
Great show. Congrats on the 20K. Thank you very much, Dread Pirate Mikey. Appreciate that. And then we have the real Mikey, Mexican Iron Man, member for 24 months. That's 2 years, guys. 2 years he's been a member. I'm pretty upset with Trump. We need to fire more government people faster, and we definitely need to export more beaners faster out of here. LOL. Yes, indeed. Yes,
Send them to your house, Mike. It's like, hey, I know this guy.
That comes from a Mexican. He wants the beaners out of here. Yeah. Then we got Hemorrhoid Hurts for $2 Australian. Trumpinator 2, greatest sequels of all time. And another one from Hemorrhoid Hurts for $2 Australian. 250 plus victims of abuse. People want justice done. Yes, they do. I think that was like a valid thing where people were saying like, look at these like influencers like posing, even though they weren't expecting any cameras to like be there when they exited the White House. I feel like if you were in that situation, what would you have done, right? Like people, like you never know how you're going to react to a situation until it happens. And I don't think they were celebrating the fact that people got abused. I think that they were just posing for cameras and stuff like that. So got to give people a little bit of grace. The Shadow Ranger for $5. After 5 years, 1% of America still believes the Fauci garbage. Koof is a dead horse, but these people voted for a corpse and his drunk VP. They never learn. Yes, indeed. Did you guys see that Kamala got an award the other day?
No.
For what?
What? Just word
Uh,
salad?
I think for being black or something like that. It was
that tracks.
Yeah, I think it was a NAACP award or something like that. I forget, but it was like her first big speech ever since like she lost to Trump. Anyway, guys, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. I want to thank my fantastic panel of nerds for being here and sharing their deep insights on everything except Star Wars. That was a very painful session trying to get people to actually participate, but hey, that's what the producer's job is for. Anyway, guys, Tom Connors Jr., any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Yeah, as far as all this business goes, I don't think Star Wars is being sold. Kathleen Kennedy isn't going nowhere. Somehow she returned. What else did we talk about today? Epstein, yeah, it's going to be a mess. Gene Hackman, rest in peace. And
Rachel Zegler.
Oh, fuck her.
Weird.
And
I like turtles.
that's about it.
Right on.
That's the one.
Mr. Philip Chan from Project Eggroll, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It was fun getting to nerd out and everything. For me with this whole Epstein stuff, we'll see what's gonna happen. Same thing with the whole Gene Hackman stuff. Like only time can tell what's gonna happen. But yes, you can find me on Project Eggroll. We go live every Saturday, and if you guys want to follow my own personal channel, Mr. Philip Chan #2, I go live every Monday and Wednesdays, and catch me on the Epic First channel. Yeah, thank you for having me on. Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you for being here. Brian from the Popcast, any final thoughts and what's going on with the Brain Show today?
We are going live in about half an hour, so hopefully you guys can join us. Talking about a lot of fun stuff, but it's gonna be a good time. We're specifically talking about the Zelensky Trump. We're gonna start with that meeting, and and how the media is sort of lying to people about it. They're only showing that last like 3 minutes. They're not showing the lead up to it, and of course, dirty journalists doing what dirty journalists do. So we're gonna be talking about that in about half an hour. I hope you guys can join us.
Yeah, and if you guys stick around to the end of this stream, we're going to be automatically redirecting you to the Brain Show, so hang out for that. Hopefully the technology works. We're never quite sure, but links to everyone's channel is in the description of this video. So if you want to go check out Brian's show right after this, you can just click the link in the description. Dutch Butters, any final thoughts on what's going on with the Salty Nerd Gaming channel?
Salty Nerd Gaming channel. Well, we're doing weekly podcasts. I'm streaming almost every day, not quite every day, but almost. And we're moving into some new games. Monster Hunter Wilds just came out, so I'm going to be playing that some this week, and that's kind of the new big thing. And we're still hell diving, but I'm catching some flack because I'm telling people they should expect a better game over there on the Helldivers world. But whatever, it's fine. People can have their opinions, but we're having a lot of fun over there. It's good stuff, and we're closing in on 5,000 subscriptions on the YouTube channel. And come on over there and help us get there. It's good stuff. So
good stuff. And want to give a big shout out to everyone who gave us super chats throughout the course of the show. WG, Major Chai Chai, John Yulden, Fluffy Panda, The Dork Knight, Doc Fortune, Mexican Iron Man, R to the Icky, Made You Say Butts, Darth Maul's Lower Half, Hemorrhoid Hurts, Kaliki Oki, Dread Pirate Mikey, and the Shadow Ranger. Guys, thank you so much for all your support. We really do appreciate it.
I'm sorry. Did you say Dread Pirate Mikey and the Shadow Ranger? That sounds like a movie.
That sounds like an awesome movie.
That sounds like an awesome ass movie.
That was kind of.
I will watch it.
We'll have to crowdfund it. Get it going. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for the support of the show. And be sure to tune in next Saturday, same salty time, same salty channel for more Salty Saturday. But until then, stay salty, my friends.